and NFT world, and nobody calls it NFT anymore. We all want to hide the digital collectible world. It's funny. I was listening in on NFT Now, wonderful podcast, fantastic podcast. They always have the most amazing guests, and one of the speakers, I couldn't peg exactly who it was or I'd attribute this great quote, but it was like, she was like, "Are you into NFTs?" It's just like that question is so bizarre. I think culturally it's just like, yeah, we've moved on, great NFTs, but it's more about like, are you into MP3s? It's just like, no, that's the technology that gets us to the culture. And so I thought that was a very apt sort of interpretation. Like, I'm trying to get to the genre of music I like. I'm trying to get to which apparently today is rock. So it's just like my hair is rocking out for you guys. I'm here to rock with you guys and talk about Web3 3D avatar integration into the broader metaverse and what those assets mean to us as holders. So if we hold this thing, are we holding on to really, I don't want this to be about FUD, and it's just about, we need to inform these founders, we need to inform anyone who has these assets and have created these assets, have done so in a way that's probably about collectability, about like a look and having it look cool. But I'm that guy in each Discord. Hey, what's up? Midi Fresh here. Please like, subscribe, hit the bell notification, because I'm in there and I'm just like, guys, do we have file types? Do we have GLBs? Do we have FBXs? Do we have, what I'm going to suggest is the most important file is the VRM. And so, do we have these file types so that we can engage in the metaverse, in the open metaverse? Because if not, we are just going to stand here and be isolated and siloed into our own world, which there are so many great, gaming studios that started their own NFT and have done this and created really nice worlds like Hooli, Collidercraft. It's just like really fantastic, experiences, but they're very, very siloed. They don't want interoperability yet. This is the counterpoint to that, because open metaverse, if not, you're just going to get crushed by Mark Zuckerberg, because he's got a big, big fist. And so this, luckily, we had this week the largest collaboration of 3D avatar projects coming together and doing with sort of, I deemed as field trips. And so I don't know if that's going to stick, because we got to come up with something way cooler. But it was a beta field trip because we wanted to get the collection together and see, in terms of interoperability between the metaverse, A, is it working? B, how do we simplify it? The creator of Volt Skull Folks came up with a very, very ingenious way of developing a quasi warm wallet, and we've discussed this on the show, and I'll go over it again today, because it's just so important to these ideas of custodial, having custody of our assets, keeping them secure, and then further maintaining our identity in this space as being sovereign in our own. Not too easily right-clicked. You can, if you want to just learn Blender. Hey, we can right-click all these assets, but that's like a long workaround if you're going to right-click somebody. But we had one of our own in the metaverse during this, as well as sort of me working behind the scenes with these projects, trying to encourage it with the 3D Hub Lab, which we created, and we're being a bit more forward-facing now. The Hub Lab was very, very about inviting partners, meaning founders and rock stars within each community who are builders. Because that's the vibe that we wanted to sort of propagate. And so that's the vibe that we wanted to just literally sit in and steep ourselves in, and just I'm having problems with, converting this. And so how do I get my helmet to sit right? And so, having these questions and having a group to chat with about was really more just therapy and a support group for us. We're having problems technically, but also creatively, how to, do certain things and how to create environments with metaverse in mind, and not put bathrooms oh, it's designed really well. It's just well, you just grab that from some sort of architectural design and threw it in there. But this is the thing, is how to approach these things from a grassroots Web3 mentality, Web3 native mentality. Very, very different way of thinking, and it's very, very open. And a lot of people don't get that. A lot of people, sort of want, the power and want to control the experience. And, those projects are fantastic because they're really smart people. They've been doing it probably a long time in Web 2 and in gaming. But what I propose here is something that's a bit more entrepreneurial, so that individuals like yourself can just get involved. You don't need a lot of technical barriers to understand this stuff at the end of the day. But a lot of people want you to believe that so that they have the control and it has to be like this and you have to have this file type. No, it's not about file type. Again, it's not about NFT. It's about my person, my character that I think represents me because I'm sick of my face on social media and on the screen even. That's why I have my friends, my collaborators here joining me with my correspondents. I'm going to bring on my correspondent. Gaston, you were in the metaverse with everyone. Can you tell us kind of, what went down? It was just yesterday. Hello, bonjour. Here I am. I'm in one of these lands here in the Metaverse. It's very, very freaking cold, and yet I keep this fire here next to me. It's actually a flaming inferno of druids and very, very weird, scary, freaky shit. But it keeps me warm. So I'm staying here, I'm huddling, and I'm talking to you about my experience on this trip. Well, thank you. I appreciate you. You're always braving the elements for us. I don't know if we can get you like a parka or something like that. See, I know you're homeless, but sometimes you need layers, right? Well, this is one of the things that we found when we were doing this interoperability. The interoperability for me to go to all the lands is very, very beautiful. Look, I can go. Hello, here I am. I am in this world, and it's very fantastic. And I can go to all of the worlds. And I like this. I like this freedom. Because why do I have to sit and play a fighter game and get the shit kicked out of me? Like the Jadoo Avas is very, very brutal. My friend Bad Bunny, the Jadoo Ava, he escaped this life of being a gladiator. Well, it was very, that's the game. Like that's the kind of the thing that they're designing for. But that's the thing. That is sort of the point. To your point, like by having these assets. If you just do that one extra step with that asset and convert those GLBs and those FBXs into VRM, and I promise I don't get too technical because this is the thing is like, it's to encourage you to be vocal about getting these assets within your own discords and with your own projects, because that's what's needed for the freedom that we're talking about here. Exactement. Is there freedom for me to go around the world and I go into all these different metaverses, and it's very, very, very cool. And I visit all my friends, and you can see some footage of me later. I'll be dancing with my friends, and it's very, very cool. But, un moment, s'il vous plaît. We also were discovering that if I am interoperability with these other metaverses, there's also interoperability perhaps within the projects to maybe get me a fucking code. Well, that'd be great. Like, you would not be cold anymore, and having interoperability of assets really opens up when you have standardization of these. There's standardization within the file formats, but when you have standardization, everybody has them. Then you can start working in. If you wanted to step in and dip your toe into Blender for just a little bit, it's not actually too hard to dip your toe into Blender and then like switch assets and to do these sort of really fun things. And so if we have these files, we can begin to develop. And this is what's great is, I've seen others also begin to, just from that understanding, begin to develop their own lines, their own wear. And so suddenly you're fashion designers within the metaverse. And I know there's a lot of those, and those are specific to like, their metaverse, like the Decentraland. But what if you could rock that everywhere? This is the point. And so having that custody of assets and sharing those throughout a multitude of lands. And there were certainly very, very many of those lands. Hold on, let me jump here. That was like a freeze. That was weird, right? It was a freeze of me from yesterday doing the live stream for this. And so thanks for those who watched and supported. Really appreciate you guys. It was just really rad to see like everybody jumping in. We started off with this in spaceship experience, and it was really actually a super cool. It was it's not just a spaceship, but here's the thing: it's like a mission. And so if you can get to the front and you can push the button, within a time frame, you get to take off, in the thing. And it's funny because other people got left behind, or you get left in the hole like I did, and you just go and you don't see anything, and you got to come out and you're like, oh crap. But you can restart the instance over and over. And but that's just a hint of, the type of experiences that are possible. Once you start doing them, you're like, oh yeah, you can, this is the thing. I do this show, honestly, to inspire you guys, to inspire the builders, to inspire the creators, the person who might not even be thinking about this, but has creativity and has a mindset and a perspective of something that we haven't seen before. I want to inspire you to take a look at these assets. I want to inspire you to take a look at these worlds and say, what's missing? And so what's missing in this one was Gaston. I don't know if I can pull that up. Hold on, let me try. It's so hard because I have so many windows open to show it. And so here you can see, this is where I'm going through the, here's Gaston now. So Gaston's going through, I went through an instance by myself to kind of give you guys sort of an overview of how to do this in the live. And I'm going to point to, and I'll put down in the comments section, more direct links on how to utilize the Volts Vault that they've created to simplify this, within 3 clicks essentially. So you connect your wallet, secure server. That's something that we do need to test actually. I want to bring it to security experts. Hit me in the comments or hit me in my DMs if you're a security expert and you want to test this to make sure it works, because this is the thing, this is new and nascent technology, but this is the idea. The idea is I have it, my asset, my cold wallet. It verifies. It doesn't touch it. It just signs, okay, you verify. Much like Warm Wallet that we've covered on the show before. When we're playing Dookie Dash, you hold the asset in your cold wallet. It says, hey, yeah, you have that asset in this hot wallet. And so it never quite touches. So this hot wallet becomes kind of this warm wallet. It doesn't have the asset, but it does have verification that the asset's sitting in the cold wallet that you've assigned. And so then from there, you can say, A, you have it, and that's you, identity. And then there's also security, clearly. And then, you have this interoperability because, you have now, this asset sitting in this warm wallet that can go freely without, having, your bags drained for, going to play some Street Fighter game. And so that's going to be the fun part is when this is battle tested and proven, and a lot of brave souls in the Alliance went with it yesterday, and under the trust and guidance that Volts is a trusted developer, and that we we're going to experience this together with Monaverse. And so having there was that instance, and then there's like the group instance, and the group instance was a lot of fun because you could essentially jump in with a lot of people and then jump into like the cockpit there. And so hey, there's Vega. And so it was, I don't know, let's ask Gaston, because like you're just, I'm talking about the reporting of it. I was, in the Meetverse, and I'm like, trying to like work out some of the details about the communication. Again, just so super excited about how many people showed up for this. So much so that it was a bit hard for them to handle in terms of like all the instances at once. And I think that there was actually, a lesson learned was perhaps the poly count on some of these, because we did have a couple that were bringing some with very, very, articulated looks. And so it was just like, whoa, it was like, it's super cool, but it's just like, how big is your file? Like suddenly like they would land in there and like, were they the ones crashing it? We don't know. But it was a great test case because we're pushing and we're pressing into the metaverse. But the initial experience was just so phenomenal for people. What was your experience, Gaston? Well, this is the thing. It's like we never get to see each other, and in your a couple of years ago, like, look, I was created maybe a gosh, I've been here for like a year and a half of having all my file sets here at I'm a DJ Void, and so I've been having this a long time, but now I get to do something, right? I get to do something more than the meat bag over there. You know, you go on your voice chat, and what do? You share the feed pics, right? You share the feed pics. Like, it's very, very. I'm trying to raise my feet here on the camera, but I can't. But it's very, very disturbing, and it's very, very gross. But and now it's like voila, like I can see mon amis, and we can, you know, have a chat, especially in these servers as well. So it's like a voice chat, but we also have the visual with each other. And that was the kind of the super cool part, is like, you know, we, by having the visual with each other, you know, it took a little bit of loading up. You would enter as like a skeleton, and then your VRM would load up after that, after the instance. And so, but yeah, just getting to like years on other platforms, hanging out and getting to dance with my friend Arknight, who literally I've spoken to, I've, you know, I corresponded with for a year and a half now, almost more than about a year. And, you know, getting to dance with them, you know, in the metaverse, you know, it was surreal, because it's just like, oh wow, now you're experiencing, you know, each other's presence in a different way, and you're playing in a different way. And I think that we've all kind of experienced that in general with, you know, going to Decentraland events. And hopefully when you do, I feel for me, for Decentraland events, it's very, for the most part, isolating. I don't quite know people because of the identity, the issue of digital identity. It's like when people see Gaston, they think it's me, it's Matthew Fresh. It's actually Gaston, but it's just like, you know, they they look at it and they're just like, oh, like it's you. Like, they knew it was me, you know, almost immediately. And so it was like there was, you know, this identity factor, and knowing that person, because this is the same, you know, correspondent that's been on the show for a very long time, so they associate it, you know, with the show immediately. And so that the idea of identity is very, very strong, very, very powerful. And then so by having that, you know, intermixed with the interaction, it was just really cool. Like, and I know there's a novelty to this, and, you know, and if you have jumped into Decentraland, it's just like, you're like, okay, cool. Like, what do I do? Do I get some gambling? Okay, that's it. But this is why I'm presenting this, because it's like there's the experience, but I'm also here to try and challenge all you smart people at home. What's next? Like, what is it that this is missing? This experience is missing. And people immediately had ideas. And this is the thing, is when those ideas can be funded. And sorry, I'm getting verklempt. I'm so emotional. And I also had not a bad burrito, but a big burrito. And the idea that, you know, it could be funded, it could be entrepreneurial in spirit, is super, super exciting, because now you're not just building, you're building with intent to create a business, to create, you know, this new kind of business, a business that nobody's really thought about, or a lot of people have thought about, but they haven't actually done, because they don't have the tools and capabilities. But your projects that you're with can give you a head start by giving you these project files, GLBs, FBXs, eventually BVRM. And these partner projects, 7 partner projects that participated, indeed had, you know, VRMs ready so that you could, you know, experience it. So once you're in there, once you start to experience it, we saw a lot of interplay. Let me pull up this. We saw a lot of interplay and a lot of ideas from people who joined. And so when we have a bunch of people there joining, it's just like the ideas just kind of come. Like, you know, as soon as people step in there, it's like, oh wow, like we could be doing this, or we could be doing, you know, Y. And so you know, even, you know, making games of the games. And so you know, and that's the thing, is just like, and then, you know, if you created a game, you know, like we talk about, you know, with Sandbox, it's just like, and then you kind of create your own little business, and then you can, you know, make money from that. I think Metaverse is kind of cool in this way, where you don't need to buy land. You just go to Metaverse and just build, and it's beautiful. The they're very good at connecting with architects and artists to create very, very elaborate lands. And, they make money because you can essentially just buy it. I can just buy this for 1 ETH. Anima was pretty awesome. That was the one I was dancing with. And, these are all super, super awesome. And, you can buy them and just be like, hey, I want to do an event type thing there and I want to buy it. And that's their business. And I think that's so, so rad. And so you can make offers in some. But then, without sort of the output of, oh, now I got to go compete for a land. Hello, other side. I think that's other side is going to be like, this, how it is now. You're going to, there's a lot of speculation on the land. And unfortunately, that drives, pricing for it. And therefore, you're subject to your level of participation within other side. You have to be able to afford that land, or you get wrecked, by buying sort of at the top and you feel like crap, like I did for the sandbox. It's nice to live next to Snoop Dogg, but let's be honest, the value of that land has dropped significantly because of, a lot of factors, including most of all speculation. It still hasn't changed. I still have a plot next to Snoop Dogg. I still have, these great aspects to the land that I thought were very cool, and I went over in the episode when I purchased it with you guys. But it still has that sort of, barrier of entry at that point as well. It was just significant barrier of entry to try and, develop around there and say, oh, I wanted a music-centric space. Hello, 4 Cent Sound that, was in sort of the heart of the music area. Surrounded by Snoop Dogg and Aoki and all these great people. But here, it's you can just build. And so I think this is why I'm presenting these concepts and these ideas is this is all achievable by getting in the right projects, by getting in projects that you can feel like you have some control. This is because that's the great thing about Web3 is if you're loud enough, they will hear you in the Discord. Don't be a jerk or anything, but definitely be vocal because they're listening. And I think a lot of these 7 founders that were part of this on Friday definitely we're a bit sort of more on the cutting edge. Let's be straight up. Voids, visitors of I'm a DGen were the first to offer these, full set of files right away. They were one of the first, OG 3D NFTs as a collection, and have been around a while, and so they've developed some really, really great things, and we cover them a lot here on the show because of what they do. With brands and with with collabs, they're really one to keep an eye on if you don't already. So, but that's the thing is all of them are starting to or have an understanding and have different optics in this space and how to get involved in this space. We covered Meta Travelers, and Meta Travelers, in preparation for this launched that they're going to be doing a toy, a physical toy. Let me pull through this here. Hold on. And a Travelers. Let me show you these. So these BAs are so cool, and look, it's so detailed. I mean, just knowing this team, and you can go back and watch the old episode where I interviewed Meta Travelers and the founder to Marco to look at why this project is it's weird. You go to OpenSea and it's very, very misleading because you're like, oh, the floor is very low. There's always less than 100, roughly. Maybe it'll go to 109 available ever. And it's just so bizarre to me because the floor is crazy, crazy thin. And again, we're not here to talk about speculation or price, but when you look at the project, you're like, well, these artists are from Marvel and from DC, and they, have a comic, and now they're doing a toy, and you can tell the level of execution for the toy is quite good. And so this is it's beyond a toy; it's a collectible, a physical collectible that I think is super, super awesome. And again, but this is a different way in. Here's their comic. And then, you can also, have this have that digital collectible, that physical, then be your avatar, like, and then you take that avatar, into the metaverse. And so that's really powerful in terms of optics and a way in, and very sort of, for me, world building. I get excited, obviously, here about narrative and sort of, the stories that you could write from that are really fantastic and phenomenal as an example of, a creator bringing in a bunch of creators, they're a great team of creators, bringing in their optics and their point of view into the space. And that's what you get when you start doing these collabs, because then you're like, oh, well, you're doing that? Okay, well, fantastic. And like, is there a way for us to do special editions, do character collabs, do collabs of, I love, sort of the Avengers style of like, having, other characters join in storylines. And so I think we're going to see a lot of that from this first meeting. This was a beta, and I know that there was, some technical issues because of just how many people logged on at once. Good problem, right? So it was just like one of those, just like we kind of knew it was going to happen. And so we started to try and move and allow people to have the experience while moving on to others. And so as that technology gets to fully understand sort of what that means to inbound that many for events, I think we're going to see some really, really special stuff. And so this is also just the first of the quote-unquote field trips. I don't know if we're going to keep calling it that because it doesn't sound as cool as I'd like, but it's just like, it's just an idea of like, hey, like we're all going to get together and do this field trip. And, tip of the hat to Skull Folks and Digital Acid, Ambaya Lelo, who really led, the really pulling together of the projects, and their the leads over at Volts and Voids, visitors of I'm a Degen. And so you can see that, just people, even Fiat Lux got involved. What up, Fiat Lux? And so a lot of people got involved and were able to, sort of begin to experiment. And that's the thing, is now, it's an open metaverse thing. Like, you can go now and do these things. And so I'll put down in the comments, just how to, if you're part of these projects, do that. Or if you've gotten to the point where you actually understand like that you have a VRM and you can actually just copy paste your VRM file in there as a link, and it's and you get to join these like really, just really fantastic, like these worlds. We've covered this before with Monoverse, and it was maybe 7-8 months ago, and it's beautiful stuff. I mean, it's just next level now. I mean, look at the fire that goes around constantly, creating these lighting effects and the mood created by this like setting sun behind, these great mountains. And so I think that, it's, you're actually in those mountains right now, right, Gaston? I've been waiting here. I'm like freezing my if I had any wobbles off, I'm freezing them off, and I'm here waiting for you in this exact lounge right here. This is where we did the photo opportunities. You really can't see me, but I'm literally just sitting right behind the fire. I'm like so cool. I was sitting right behind the fire when they took this, and so it's it's a nice experience to experience each other and experience the community. But as you say, me beg, then I can be wearing different clothes. We can go to the spaceship together. We can go to anything together. We can go to the lands that you create. You. I'm not talking about the meat bag. I'm talking about you. You. Exactly. So, I mean, just having the inspiration to do this type of stuff. The tools are getting simplified, and that's why I'm reporting on this, and I'm trying to share this stuff. They're getting simplified to the point where it's not about getting stuck in the tech, because I know enough of the tech to, and as we covered on the show, like, trying to get into Maya, trying to get into, Blender, like, any of these things. I'm like, I'm just thinking back, because like nobody does Maya anymore, but it's just like, that was my grounding, that leveraged, my understanding of, where we're at with a lot of this, tech with Unreal Engine 5, and it's still, there's barriers, but it's getting simpler and simpler and simpler, and they're building because there's marketplaces being built. Building of the builders and the builts are you guys, and having this develop is, and this is Underwear, who did some really, really fantastic work. Shout out to Underwear. Shout out to Underwear. If you don't follow him, please go follow Underwear NFT at Underwear NFT. Super, super great person in the space, great builder in the space, great community member. And so, as well as something, I mean, literally, as I'm going through here, just follow people, because I think that this is really, these are the core groups that are developing, and a lot of them, most of them are part of the 3D Hub Lab. And so, if you're wanting to get involved, check out at 3D Hub Lab here on Twitter. That's the group that I founded of founders and builders. That it's a little curated because we want people who are very serious about it, and so we try and keep out a lot of the quote unquote scammers and stuff like that. And so we have sort of, it's a quasi DAO of looking at how to build this rising tide together, and we're super excited at the prospect of continuing to support further collaborations like this, because just getting to, and also getting to hang out with Vega, like super cool stuff, right? And again, you're the community members and the friends that you've made over the year, and just being able to do this in a different way that's beyond VC chat, because it's very similar to VC chat where you're talking, but you also get the visuals. And as these develop, you're gonna be able to share visuals. You're gonna be able to collaborate very, very differently. I'm so super excited about, obviously, coming from the sound mindset as well, of bringing like a music component to this, and you could start a band here, you could jam together here, you could do a lot of things that have a visual nature that's necessary for continued collaborations, as well as pushing creative mediums far beyond what we understand of them now, and also making businesses out of them. And so super stoked, and thank you everyone for your support on this. This was a long week for me. I was like, I literally was just like waking up and doing this, and then sound stuff, and then Web 2 stuff, and this is always the big side hustle here on the show. But it was so worth it to see so many people enjoying this event, and I hope you guys will join on the next one. We're gonna obviously trying to expand, and so having other partner projects join us in these field trips, and hopefully develop maybe a storyline or two.